it's an interesting dilemma that we as project managers or people that have been in this business for a long time, we are problem solvers by trade, right? Everything we do is like, okay, there's a problem in my desk. How do I solve it? How do I solve it? Instead of stepping back a second and saying, how do I give the tools to the other person that I'm talking to for them to solve it? Right? That's an interesting dilemma that we fight with. Every day something comes through our desk. All right, awesome. So I think we got the roles. No one else added anymore, so I'm going to assume that that's good enough. Go ahead, Ray. Jump to the next. I always like to do this, guys. So we have another tool that we use. We call Poll Everywhere. Do me a favor. This is the link right there. So if we want to put it on the channel, please, on the Zoom channel for them to access it. So the idea behind this is all you're doing is you're answering the question. It's important for me to understand my audience. So let me ask you a question. Every time you guys run a meeting, do you truly understand your audience? Do you truly get the feedback you need to understand how you might need to pivot? Or do you come in with a presentation and you say, that's it. This is what I'm going to present and this is what I'm going to get out of it. I would challenge each one of you when you're setting up a meeting to try to ask pertinent questions that kind of help you adjust the way your presentation is going to go. All right. So this is the thing here. So we've got one person that maybe has less than a year experience. We have another one that maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got a lot of 5+ so far. Let's see how we got. Remember, we have like 30 people on the bridge, 30 something people. So we're probably expecting a couple more. How do we got? Are we all done with filling this out?
No, there's still people joining in.
Excellent, excellent. So we have a dilemma. What is our dilemma right now? Anybody want to share? You can open up the mic right now. I'm just curious.
Yeah, this is Craig. I see that there's more mentors with 5+ experience than us newbies that need their mentoring.
So I have great. That's the dilemma. The dilemma is that we have such a broad range of people in this room. So as a coach, what would you do in this situation? I'm just curious, feedback here from you guys. What would you do if you see this type of information? How would you help the people that are 1s and then help the people that are 5+? What would you do what would you do?
I think for me, I personally would gear towards really educating that person that's starting off, because that person that's here is hungry for that knowledge. But then I would also leverage the experience of the people on the call, like you're doing, asking us and making sure that we're all weighing in so that we're giving us the opportunity to right. give back, as well as then you take us a little higher with whatever responses we give. That would be my opinion.
Love it. Exactly.
I totally agree.
That's what I was thinking as well. So I like that. So again, the only way I would have been able to do this is because I ran a survey, because I got some feedback. Again, I'm challenging you guys every time you facilitate a meeting. Are you getting that type of feedback to understand where you're at? And I'm going to challenge you again. And I want a raise of hands of this. How many times have you run a meeting and at the end of the meeting, you ask the question, what? What do you ask at the end of the meeting? What's the most important question that you ask the group at the end of the meeting?
Questions.
Do
they have any questions?
That's a good one. Do you have any questions? Anything else as a coach, as a facilitator? What are some of the things that you should at least once in a while ask at the end of the meeting? It's very important for you.
Is there anything else that anything you want me to elaborate?
Okay, yeah. Elaboration, got that one. Anyone else?
Is there anything else you were expecting from this meeting that you didn't hear?
I like that. I like that because you're opening the door to say, is there anything else that you were expecting from the meeting? I like that, but I would dive even deeper into that specific area.
Did you get what you want out of this meeting?
Did you get what you want? So in a sense, you're retrospecting. How many times do you end the meeting and say, thank you, we got 5 minutes more. In the last 5 minutes, I want to actually make this even a better meeting. And since this is a reoccurring meeting, I want to do some things like, was it engaging enough? How did you feel the topic was? What are things that we did well? What are things that we didn't do well? How many times do we do that as us facilitating a meeting? Right?
Yeah, that's excellent feedback right there. Yeah.
I'm just curious. I want to raise the hands because you guys learned the tools already, especially Saba. She should be able to raise her hand very quickly. Okay. I'm curious, how many of you guys have actually done that? Let's say in the last 3 months, because maybe you've done it once in your life, but in the last 3 months, have you stopped a second after the meeting and say, here's the saying, because I believe in continuous improvement, I want your honest feedback on what areas should we get better on with this meeting and what areas did we do well? So how many hands do I see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, okay? So keep that in mind that that's a very uncomfortable feeling to do because as a project manager, the first thing that someone tells you is like, that means you don't know what you're doing. If you're asking questions about how to facilitate, that means maybe you're not too competent on your job, right? Sometimes people feel that questions means that you don't know what you're doing, right? Rather than you're trying to get to a better state. And there's nothing better, and this is a project management hat here, there's nothing better than saying, wait a minute, every meeting I asked you how things were going, and then now 20 meetings later, you're telling me that the meetings were horrible, that you never got the response you needed, and you never got, wait a minute, I retrospected every time and didn't get any of your feedback. So it's an interesting way to also save your rear end. I know it sounds bad, but it is, right? Everybody good with that? All right, awesome. So I love the strategy that we just talked about. So I'm going to go ahead and challenge. So the hard thing for me is I need to know where the 5s are. So put your hands down, and the 5s, please raise your hand just so that I can keep a good eye on you so that when opportunities do come up, I'm going to actually talk to you and maybe bring you into the conversation. So whoever put 5 plus, right? 5 plus, please raise your hand so I can see you. Okay, Victoria, I love it. Tammy, awesome. Galaxy, okay. And where else do I see? Andrew, all right, awesome.
Daryl.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of hands there. Okay, great. Okay, I'll do my best to call on you guys when I need you. But we're trying to be very informal here, so we're going to have the ability to unmute ourselves when we need to, and I'll keep it that way. All right, let's go to next. Okay. I always like to ask this question because I'm always curious. Go ahead, why Agile? Go ahead next. So we all have heard the statistics why people go to Agile, right? And you'll see a lot of reasons, accelerated delivery, all these great reasons why people, go into these Agile field. Keep in mind again that this is not just technology based; it's also any part of the business. Okay, any part of the business can use Agile to help their organization. Okay, go ahead and go next. And there's a whole bunch of statistics of improvement, right? And I'm just curious from the high-end people here. And I want you to look at these numbers here. So they're talking about 30 to 75% time to market. They're talking about quality improving 25 to 75%. Productivity, 20 to 50. Engagement, 10 to 50. The advanced users, talk to me. Is this real? Have you ever done any real statistics behind this to share with us to say, Rick, I tried, but it didn't work, or we kind of got these numbers out of that. I'm just wondering if anybody actually quantified it. Those number 5s, can you please share a little bit of your experience here? State your name. When you talk, please state your name. And then
this is Victoria. I've quantified that with by the 3rd cycle, you can usually tell if you're getting faster or if you're reducing defects because you are creating a trend or a pattern. So the happier one, you can see the motivation, but it's kind of hard to quantify if they're happier, if they're complaining less. I guess that shows up. The same thing.
Love it.
But yeah, I've quantified this on multiple occasions.
Victoria, great job. So let me share you with the NPS. And again, I'm going to challenge you almost every single slide. I'm going to challenge you. At one of the clients that we're working with right now, you guys are aware of NPS score, right? That's the happy level of working with your customer and all that. But we have an internal NPS score for this, for employees to actually judge their managers, how happy are they working for this company? Would you recommend a friend, to come into this company? And we actually have a score. And what do you think we do with that score? We actually say that score, and we're talking about the C-level, that score is connected to your raise. Think about that. Has anybody had the opportunity to do something like that? I'm just curious. So again, did everybody understand that? So you got an NPS score that just does a survey, and in the survey, you're asking your employees, how likely are you to recommend a friend of yours to the company? So and they come up with something. Yeah, and that number is put in. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry
about that. This is Jasmine. So in my company, we do both an NPS score that we deliver to our clients, and then an eNPS score, which is the employee NPS score. The client-facing, evaluation, the NPS, is definitely tied to your performance. And the eNPS is, internally the organization uses that to drive, maybe that's how they quantify employee engagement. How likely is an employee, or our employees overall, are they engaged? Are they looking to leave? Are they happy here? What areas do we need to, what are our employees telling us that are pain points for them that we need to correct, and that type of thing. So I have had experience with that one.
Love it. Thank you, Jasmine. So the cool thing about that is not to do that yearly. If you can do that quarterly, I know it's heavy, I know it's taxing, but you got to make it short. You can't make a long survey because people are not going to actually fill it out. You have to make it anonymous, and you have to give them the ability to. Now it's hard because you make it anonymous, but you still have to track what department they're in, right? So if not, you might be barking down the wrong tree. And then you make them accountable, C-levels, accountable for their whole area. That is a pretty interesting mindset or motivation for people to take care of their employees. So this whole idea of C-levels are supposed to take care of the employees, and the employees are supposed to take care of the product, right? That's that big change. That's that whole shift. All right. Awesome. Anybody else want to share something about statistics? Because I know it's a
question.
Go for it.
We do this at a corporate level, at an enterprise. They send it out to everybody. How would you do this at a team or, group of teams level?
I love it. I love it. So that's a great question. So first of all, I have it at a corporate level, which actually dives down to what we call frontline leaders as well, because they're actually registering, and then you can see the frontline leaders. At the team level, there's a something that I always do when I run a team retro. I always tell the team, do me a favor. How comfortable do you feel speaking up? Remember, I'm always about safe environment. Agile is all about safe environment. When I mean safe, is not that someone's going to hurt you. It's more like you can speak freely, right? And you don't have this intimidation behind, right? So I asked the question, hey guys, how comfortable do you feel speaking in this environment from 1 to 5? And I have them put them in a piece of paper that I tear up. It's anonymous. That's a quick anonymous thing. And I grab it, and then I get the tallies, and then that gives me a baseline. So then I tell everyone, and if there's any managers connected to that team, I tell them, your job is to improve that score.
Okay.
Right? Make sense?
Yep.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you.
I think we're good with statistics. We could dive in. We could have a 10-hour conversation about statistics, okay? But at least it's a good start, all right? All right, let's go to the next one. So again, we're gonna do a poll. Again, the first thing, go back. So I just like to at least start, like, what is the first thing that comes into your mind when you think of Agile? It just gives me an understanding of where you're at in your mindset. I love it when people say that they have 5 years experience. I've interviewed a lot of people with 5 years experience, and then they're not really doing Agile, or they're doing it their own way, or their company has done it that way, right? And I've interviewed people that have done it for 1 year and they have that mindset. So I'm just curious, what's the first thing that comes into your mind when you're thinking of Agile? So you got a poll everywhere. You should have that on your screen. And people that came in a little late, I do apologize. Maybe we could put the poll everywhere in the URL. Neilu, if you could do that for us. And it's supposed to, there you go, improvement. I like it. Who else? Whoa, you guys are transparency. Love it. Phased implementation. I would love to see what that means. Awesome. Communication and efficiency. Delivery. Like it. Pivoting. Interesting. Okay. Structure. Whoa, that's an interesting word. I wonder who came up with structure. Collaboration. Flexibility. More business involvement. I love that. Whoever put that one, I got a thumbs up for you. Awesome. So just to look at that sheet there, if you were to look at it, does any of that, one of those items there come to like, you don't agree with it? I'm just curious, is there one that kind of like stands out and says, I'm confused a little bit about this one? I'm just curious if one of those topics there, not to put anybody underneath the bus or anything like that. I'm just curious if there's anything that kind of stands out. Someone said project management. So the first thing you think of Agile, the first thing that comes into your mind when you think of Agile, you think project management. That's interesting. That's interesting, view. What else?
The structure stands out to me.
Structure. I love it. So that is a good one that stands out. So let's talk about, when they talk about Agile and they talk about structure, what, and you don't have to speak up if you were the person that wrote it, but it's fine. But what do you think, what did you guys mean by that? What do you think they meant by that?
Hi, this is Christy Hernandez. I was the one that submitted structure. So when I worked for other companies, when they do traditional project management, it's not as structured. They have their own process of how they complete projects. But with Agile, like at least with the time box events, and these are the ceremonies you have to do and pick what kind of intervals you want for your sprints. I think having that very concrete for companies and saying this is what Agile is, to a minimum in terms of our structure, has been really helpful. Because when I've done traditional project management for companies, their process really varies. And I think that's why there's a lot more things that falls through the crack. Does that make sense?
I love it. I love it. And you know what? I was a little bit biased because I was thinking about the extensive structure that I felt when I was in project management. And now I'm saying, yes, it makes sense that now you have a simplistic structure in place.
Mm-hmm.
That if you follow these simple, 10-step process, whatever you want to call it, that you kind of get to the point where you need, rather than having all this abundance of overhead, right?
Right.
But yeah, that's really good. I really enjoyed that conversation. Anybody else related to any other topic there that they want to bring out? What was the one that you love the most out of all these things that we put in? Like, okay, that was pretty cool. It really resonates for you. And don't pick the one you put.
Saba here. I really like the continuous feedback.
Whoa, I love that too. I love that too. And that's again, but with continuous feedback, you can only get that when you do what as a manager? What do you have to do something really important that you have to do to truly get real feedback. What is that answer? And Saba, you can't, not yet. Let's somebody else. You got too many answers there. Okay.
I think you have to communicate.
And
I love communicate. That's awesome.
Like
What else do you have to do as a manager to
Yeah.
get real communication back to you?
you have to facilitate that communication. You have to commit and work closely with them.
Okay. Good. Who else?
Listen.
What is one key aspect as a manager to truly get feedback? And I'm talking about unfiltered feedback. I'm not talking about this sugar code because I'm your manager. I'm going to talk a little different.
Demos? Are you talking about demos?
No, I'm talking about
Okay.
just in general.
In
You
general.
want feedback for yourself as a manager to your employees.
You have to be open.
I love it.
And you have to ask for it.
You got to ask for it, but I'm going to give you a trick. And
What's
this
that?
is something that a lot of managers don't have this in them. You have to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
If you're not vulnerable and they're talking to you and you're not sharing any of your weakness because you're uncomfortable with that, because they're your subordinate, because they're the ones that, you might have to hire and fire, right? And if you're never vulnerable to them, let me ask you a question. How in the world are they going to be vulnerable to you?
Right.
Do you think I'm going to be vulnerable at all if you haven't opened up to me? All right. Awesome. Let's go to the next slide. Ray, boom. Thank you. All right. So these are different things, results that we normally get, but go ahead, go to the next one. We talk about Agile, and the first thing that people talk about is process. You saw your first words. Some of them were process driven. Some of them were mindset driven. Okay. So keep in mind that doing Agile and being Agile are two different things. So give me an example. I want a real world example, and any of you guys can share, of out of work, but you were doing Agile. You were out of work and you were doing something, but it had an Agile mindset to it. Somebody share a personal story of you doing that. Just curious who would share. And I'm going to challenge people that have not spoken. So if you've spoken already, I love you, but please hold back a little bit.
It's pretty quiet.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure.
I'm going to phone a friend.
No.
I know, right?
I love it. So here we go. Everybody keeps talking about this being Agile and doing Agile, right? Doing Agile is all those practices and all that stuff, right? Great. And you do it at work or whatever. Being Agile actually is a way of living. It's a way of looking at problems no matter where you're at. And it's a way of handling things different than what you would have done in a think of it in a traditional way, right? And I'm asking this for more of the advanced people, because the new people would say, Rick, I don't even know what you're talking about. What is the mindset? You haven't even shared with me the mindset, Rick. But some of you have taken some classes, and I know who you are, okay, because I can see your faces. You should be able to answer that. What is an example of you being Agile that's family related, that's you went to a supermarket one time and you were Agile somehow? Share.
Okay, I have one.
Go
this
for
is
it.
This is Katina.
Katina, go ahead.
So since my husband's home, I'm home, so I decided to do a project where we wash in a condo, so we have to wash all the balcony windows and the doors. And then there's a railing, so we have to do the outside railing, and then we had to do the actual balcony floor. So we did one, finished that, success.
You celebrated? Your husband did it?
We had a success. We learned we needed different tools. I went on Amazon, ordered different tools that were more efficient, like
Wait,
this.
but I'm going to pause. I'm going to pause a second. I'm going to pause. But you did it. So look what she did. She didn't buy all the tools up front. She said, let me experiment. Let me try something out. And as I'm doing it, I realized, wait a minute, there might be more tools that I need to buy. But you did it first. You didn't just buy 50,000 tools and realize, oh my God, I don't need half of these.
No.
Awesome. Go ahead, continue.
So that was basically it. You know, we started with the windows and then felt like we needed better tools and better squeegees and better those microfiber cloths to clean the windows. And then we experimented with different liquids for washing the window. And I researched, so it's the best thing for washing windows, I found out, is half vinegar, half water, and a dash of Blue Dawn.
There you go.
So we experimented with Windex and different concoctions, and finally I looked it up. And so moving forward, you know, when we did the balcony railings, you know, that are glass, we use that and the new tools, and it was very efficient, much quicker. So
awesome. So now I'm going to challenge. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. So it was like different sprints, you know, so I had 3 different sprints.
Awesome. So now I'm going to challenge the people that wrote 1, right? In our survey, we had the really experienced people and we had the people that wasn't as experienced, right? Hearing her communicate a little bit about what Agile is. What are you thinking about right now? What is your mind thinking about what Agile is? You haven't even learned what Agile is. You haven't even known the definition of it, but you've heard us talking about it. What is coming to your mind as you're hearing these things that you want to share with the group? Again, I know it's uncomfortable. I know you feel like you might make a mistake, but we're here as a family to help you, okay? So who wants to comment? Anybody that actually put a 1 and felt that they don't have that much experience with Agile?
This is Craig. I like the application of lessons learned and building up to get the solution solved effectively, you know, as you went through each sprint and improved things.
I love it. So lesson learned. We do that. Craig, let me tell you, we do that so often that it's sometimes over. For example, we have meetings like stand-up meetings where we're learning there. We're constantly learning in our retros. We're constantly learning. Everything is about learning and everything is about getting that feedback. So that's a really important thing. Before, some of the traditional way of doing things, we would wait too long and we wouldn't mitigate risk as well as we could have. So that's really, if you really look at the root of it, we're trying to mitigate risk, right? Awesome. Anybody else?
This is Bill. I'll let you do
Go ahead.
Being and doing Agile, but I've got a project list of things that need to be done around the house, and my wife has her list. And by rearranging the priorities occasionally, or if new emergencies come up, we juggle the priorities and what needs to be worked on, when, and for how long, and when it'll be completed.
So I love the ability of juggling priorities. So Agile does that a lot, right? Where it wants, hey, let's make sure we take care of one of the highest priority items first. What would happen if you wait for the last, most riskiest thing to be done at the end? Has anybody ever had a project where for some reason it was 99.9% done, but then that 1% lasted another year? You know, it's because we wait. We're scared of that last item. So we tackle that to the end. We take care of the little easy things first, right? Oh, that. We start avoiding like, hey, this is really going to be a problem. And then at the end is where we experience that major problem. If it's the most valuable thing, why would you wait for the end to do it? Okay. Anybody else that's a beginner that wants to share a little bit of what they're learning today?
Yes, Nicola here. I like the idea of lesson learned because, you know, that's the bottom of it. But also, you know, a big part of is actually organizing, you know, what the stuff that you have to do. And that's how you will be able to identify like the one that has the highest risk, you know, to organize it and do that part first.
So I love the organization, but I'm going to challenge everyone related to organization. if you have a very complex thing, right? You have a very complex thing here. You can't organize everything together. It's just too much, too difficult. So what we try to do is we'll put it there because we know it's a big thing, but we'll try to organize very heavily
Break it down.
the first week of work. So I'm challenging everyone that's the beginner. Why is it so important for me to deliver on what I say I'm going to do the first week of work? Why, if I have got a ton of work to do, right? This ton of work. Why is it so important that if I say I'm going to deliver this in this week, that I deliver it in this week? And then I go to the whatever level I need to go to deliver that. Why is that so important?
Credibility.
I'm going to ask the advanced users now. I'm going to flip and we'll go to the advanced users. I've got a ton of work to deliver, a ton of work to deliver. Why is it so important that I commit to a smaller element and I deliver what I say I'm going to do? Why is that so important?
You start building trust.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
So
For me,
I love it.
it's momentum. You
Say
build
your name.
momentum.
Say your name when you talk, guys, so that we can hear you. Sorry.
Sorry,
My apologies.
this was Jorge.
Hey, Jorge, great. Who else?
Marilenis, my answer to that would be momentum, to build that momentum.
I love it. Momentum. Great job. Anyone else? Another thing that we do in the Agile world is we predict, we also estimate. And if you have confidence that you could deliver this, I have more confidence that you're going to do the rest. If you can't deliver this, what's my confidence level that you can do the rest? Probably low, right? So it's a way, and you guys mentioned momentum, and you guys mentioned, the ability to move forward. That gives you that. All right? Awesome. Let's go to the next slide, Ray. All right. So this is the textbook, Agile. So you guys can read up on it. And there's certification classes that you can learn, and you can make sure you pass some of these tests. Go through it. We talked about iteration. We talked about, again, uncertainty. So any project that you're working on, you can use some of these things when it comes to the Agile toolkit. Okay, so any initiative, whether it's a home initiative, whether it's a work initiative, you can use some of these concepts. Okay, it is iterative. That means we like to actually see our results so that we know we're moving forward properly. And then another key word is that we do have teams that are cross-functional. Cross-functional as in they work really close together. They work really close together. So some of the high-level items that we have. When you think of Agile, think about a lot of different, advanced users. And I know you see the answers there. What other frameworks are there in Agile? Share with us. So when people say Agile, what are they talking about when it comes to frameworks? What's out there? Go for it, Victoria.
Kanban.
Kanban. Boom. What's another one?
Crystal.
Crystal. Like it. What else?
Scrum.
Scrum. Like it. Anybody else?
Lean.
Build.
Okay. So XP, right? So just understand that the umbrella has a lot to it. So when someone says Agile, don't think that it just reflects one item here. The most popular one is which one?
Scrum.
Scrum.
All right, awesome. So Scrum is the most popular one. Good job. All right, go ahead, move forward. This is the history. Don't really care too much of the history. I do care about history, but we're trying to move on, guys. Go ahead. So what does it take to be a high-performing team? Go ahead. So one of the things I want to test out right now is I want to test this Jamba board. So I'm going to test you guys here to see if we can work this out. So I'm going to put another link on your chat. Okay.
Sure,
Edu,
I'm sure.
can you
Yes.
put the Jamba board there?
Sure thing. I'm gonna put these Jamba boards, so please give me a go when you receive it.
I'm
And
curious, how many of you guys have actually used Jambo board? Raise your hand, and raise it through not your physical hand, through your electronic hand. How about that? We got one person, 2, 3, 4, 5. Awesome. All right, so please go to the board for me.
okay, people are getting in the board.
All right. So how many people we have on the board?
We have 20 viewers so far. People are coming in.
Is anyone not in the board? Does anybody raise your hand if you're not in the board? Craig, you almost there? Are you having any issues?
6
You're in?
participants raised their hands.
So put your hand down if you're not, if you're already on the board. Your hands are up, guys. Just some of you guys have your hand up. Don't even realize it. You're waving to me. Marcella, you in there yet? Did you get in there? You have your hand up.
A lot of people are joining, 23 people so far.
All right. All right. Marcella, you having problems or are you in? I'm just curious. I don't know if she's hearing me. Let's all say Marcella at the same time. Oh, no, go ahead.
I'm here. Sorry, I was on mute. No, I can't get in. It's asking for a Google account login when I go to that link.
Let's see.
All right, I think, okay. Will, it should be.
I follow along.
Yeah, it should be like viewable for everyone, but maybe we didn't change the rights there. Go ahead, try it again. Go ahead. Hit got it or whatever at the bottom. Okay, try again. Done. The bottom done.
Yep. So let me share this again.
All right, so the majority is there. If anyone else is having issues with that?
Carmen has her hand raised up, and Jasmine. Cheryl and Marie.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give you what we talked about: high performing teams, and we talked about trying to work with remote agile teams. And I can tell you this, as an agile coach, if you don't have a tool that you're interacting with in an easier way, you're going to have a lot of difficult times having that collaboration. So this is one tool that you can use where everyone can, kind of work together. Yeah, there are limitations to how many people you can have there, but I'm just curious, does anybody else have any other tools that you use to truly collaborate? And I don't mean collaborate as in sending an email or, waiting 2 days, that you're instantly working together. Any recommendation from any of the senior or anybody else? Some of us are already putting things in there. Good job. So I'm asking the question to the group: what do you use for your agile teams to collaborate and work closely together?
Sure, DevOps.
So
no, not yet. I'm gonna have breakfast in about 30 minutes.
Okay, one at a time. And what I'm asking for is the actual tool that you can actually enter stuff at the same time and be able to have an interactive session. Because if you're, remember what the Office gave you. The Office and working co-located with teams gave you a lot of strength. It gave you the ability to see people's faces, to see them work together, right? So Agile, for beginners, Agile loves the idea of face-to-face collaboration. In fact, we love it a little too much because this is really awkward for us where we can't see all the people and it kind of sense the feeling of the room, right? Some people have their cameras turned off. So for an Agile coach, that's like crazy. Oh my God, I don't know what they're thinking, okay? Yeah. So we need to find other ways of collaborating. So what other tools? Anybody else has any other tool that they want to recommend that they use to have a collaborative session with your teams? I'm not hearing too many people, so that means we're challenged if I'm not hearing anybody speak.
No, WebEx Teams or Miro.
Okay, I like Miro. Yes, WebEx, I like it.
Yep, lean coffee table and Miro and Slack.
Oh, lean coffee table. Never heard of that one.
Okay, let's write that down.
We're actually implementing Candice.
Okay, and how's that working for you?
It's pretty well. It's a little bit more advanced than Miro because we also use Miro as well. It just integrates better with the tool that we're using, which is Azure DevOps.
All right, so this is an example of a tool. So people that haven't gotten used to it, so it's a simple tool. All you have to do, if you notice to the left side, there's these little toolbox, right? All you have to do is pick one of those, and you can put whatever you want. I don't see enough people drawing or doing something on the first slide. So go ahead and go crazy a second. Put some.
It says that I have view only access.
So
no, you can click on the last
go ahead
link
and
that I
refresh,
shared.
or get the last.
Oh, the last link. Okay.
Yeah.
On the chat, yeah. It has
Or just hit
edited
refresh.
information.
Sometimes it refresh. You should be able to have it. Someone's playing and only one person's playing. So I see some other stickies coming in. And someone's that's you, Ray. You're typing something on your screen?
No.
Who's sharing the screen? Neilu, are you sharing?
Neilu is sharing the screen.
That's me.
We caught you, Neilu.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. So as a coach, as somebody who's working with teams, one of the most important things that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create that bonding, that connection, okay? So you need to find a way of making sure that they're having their ability to because people that are introverts and people that are extroverts, think what happens in a remote session now that you have those players there and you muted the lines. How comfortable is somebody that doesn't speak much going to speak up on the bridge? So how do you grab them? How do you get them to also interact? You have to have a more interactive session. Any comments on the tool that you're using right now? Anybody want to comment?
I like to do this with somebody as tool facilitator.
Okay. Elaborate more on that. Sorry, go ahead. Elaborate more.
Kind of like a tool coach to pair with the Agile coach.
I like it because maybe the Agile coach, first of all, it's hard to facilitate because the tool can go wrong and you're worried about more the tool than talking to your people. So
right. Yeah.
I love that idea. Who was that? I'm trying to look for the faces here and I can't tell who's talking. I'm sorry.
Sure. My name's Four. Nice to meet you, Rick.
Good job. I like that. Awesome. It's a great recommendation.
How do you get into this thing?
Okay. So
go to the chat line and look for the link. Let me share it again.
I've got the link happening, but it's telling me
refresh the page and it will work.
You have to refresh.
Refresh works.
Yeah.
Refresh works.
Where do you make the request?
No, just refresh. Hit F5 on your keyboard and you should be able to refresh your screen. Sometimes, again, it takes a little time for everyone to log in. We have around 40. How many people do we have logged in there?
24, 25, 30.
Right. So it does take a little while. Did you get in?
No.
Rick, have you done?
Yeah, let me share again.
Rick, have you done anything with a camera on a whiteboard? Like I've got a webcam on an articulated arm, so I can point it at paper or whiteboard.
That's pretty good. I just sometimes it's hard to read, and everyone has to blow up your part. But I know people that love going on the whiteboard and actually try. Now remember that there's a lot of tools that also allow you to see a whiteboard. Like even Zoom, you can actually have a whiteboard and put it on the screen. but I have seen a lot of people, you know, physically, that's what we're talking about.
Can I ask or make a comment, ask a question? I don't know exactly, but one of the challenges I have with my remote teams is I have different, like there's a learning curve with tools and technology. And one of the challenges, especially more so with the business folks that I work with as product manager versus the technology engineering folks, is this, I don't want to say fear of tools, but like reluctance around tools, like overwhelmed with new tools. So that's one of the challenges I face with like, there's all these new cool tools that I'm trying with groups like this, and I want to bring it back to my team, but I also am mindful that they already feel like they're completely overwhelmed by all the tools we have. I don't know, any thoughts around that and just, I don't know, respecting that, but also trying to maybe encourage people outside their comfort zone. I don't know, or just trying to think through that one.
Yeah, I love that, Jen. And I actually truly believe you have to find the most simplest tool you can get. You do not want to have a lot of bells and whistles, and you want to be really, really conscious of the people that are not comfortable with the tool. So this is what I do. Instead of me going right into the exercise, I actually have them go to the first page and play around with the tool first. Because let me give you my experience. And I call it the facilitation from hell, or it was a nightmare. The first time I ran this tool, I ran it with like 60 people, and they took over the whole meeting. They wouldn't stop playing. They started moving stickies and dragging them over there, and I could not actually start the actual presentation. So it was like, they need that space right now to play around with and enjoy it, and then maybe move into actually doing it. But I love the idea of simplifying things for you. Yes, you're challenged because there's a lot of people that aren't comfortable with computers, aren't comfortable with the web, aren't comfortable with a lot of things there. So it does take a lot of patience to do that. So we do a lot of trainings prior. We do a lot of like, here's a couple of tips that you can get. So we're doing a lot of extensive things to get them onboarded, but it is an uncomfortable feeling. Anybody else has any advice for Jen? All right, I hope that helps, Jen. I don't know, I mean, you've got your own, I guess, personal take on the people that you're working with. So they might have their own reasons why, you know, fear. All right. All right. So are we good with the tools so far? All right. So what I want you to do right now, did everybody get in? I think we still have some people that haven't got in, but we'll work through it. So what I want you to do is on the top, if you notice, there's a one, and Nelu, you might want to show it to them. There's a way of going to the second page. See, that's the second, and it's beautiful. It's blank. Do not touch it. It looks beautiful. Don't mess the beautiful artwork. I know someone's going to touch it. I know it. All right. So the good thing about interacting, again, I want to have a social, we could do it in the chat line, but I want to do a social interaction. So what I'm going to do is this. Look, somebody did it. Somebody pulled the trigger. And the bad thing about it, it's anonymous. So I have no idea who's doing that. And it drives me crazy. No, just kidding. So what I want to do is go back to the slide. Thank you for erasing that. Go back to the slide and let's ask the question. Ray, who's sharing the slide? So the question is, this is what I need you to answer in there. It's, what does an agile team look like? Instead of that, let's look at the second one. Write down characteristics that describes a high-performing employee. So that's all. Just write certain characteristics that, and this is the way I want you to write it. Go back to the slide. Go back to the Jamba board. I just want you to add a sticky. I don't want you to actually write, just add a sticky. So the way you add a sticky on the left, you see the panel, and then one of them is an actual sticky that you can add, okay? Once you add it, move around the stickies because people are adding across, all right? So again, what's the question again that I'm asking, Ray?
Write down the 3 characteristics that describe you as a high-performing employee. It's in the chat. In case you forget the question, it's in the chat.
Thank you, Ray.
So we're interacting. Honesty. Make sure you move those stickies around. All right. Whoever's, good job, because they go right on top of each other. Honesty. He said. Flexible. Trusted. That trust keeps coming out.
Huh.
High EQ. You know that proactive, you have no idea how many supervisors that I speak to are always talking about being proactive. Like my team, I need them to be proactive. I need them to be proactive. That's how I know that I can trust them. You know, that's pretty cool. Love it. Love it. All right. All right. Great job. Great job. Okay. Slow down there. Slow down there. We got a lot. Okay. So now the next question, Ray, let's ask the next question. Let's move to slide 3 now, or frame 3.
Okay.
Which is blank. It's beautiful
Let me
and
get
blank.
Yep. Let me get the question first. I need to get the question.
Good.
I'm going to put it in the chat first. I'm going to put the question in the chat. Before I show you. Hold on.
Ray, can you go back a slide just for a sec for a screen grab?
Yep, going back, going back.
Nelu, I think, is the one that's. Are you going to the slide or to the actual Jamba board?
Yeah, the Jamba.
Jamba.
Oh, okay.
Jam board.
Nelu, can you show the? Maybe. Yeah. I put the question in the chat at 9:37 a.m.
Thank you for the exact time, Ray.
No, that's so they know when to find the timestamp for the question.
Oh, go back to the third frame, Nelu. Is that okay? They're on the third one. What happened to all the slides? Was it on the second one or the third one? Or the second? Does somebody want to go back to this for a reason?
Screen grab.
Oh, I love it. Love it. Yes. Yes. You got to put the stickies kind of in place.
Thank you.
This is not going to disappear, guys. So we'll have it there. It's not going to disappear. All right. So we're asking the next question. Ray, repeat the question again.
The question is, write down 3 things that should be in place in your department or organization to motivate you to be high performing.
Oh my God, provides resources. I'm curious what somebody said with that one. Provides resources. That sounds like a common problem that I'm getting every day. Who said provides resources? I'm curious. Who said that?
That was me, Craig.
Talk to me. What do you mean by that?
You actually said it. You know, it's like, yeah, go do this, and there's no resources, no people, there's no tools, there's no cover for other things. They keep telling me to, they give me more things to do than the staff more things to do. There's no resource.
Right, but we got to solve this problem because I get this every day. Every day I get a complaint about this. How do we solve this? Who has the skill sets to solve this problem? What do you do when they're asking you to do things and you just don't have enough resources? What do you do? Coach us.
Enforce accountability. Consequences.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Saying, look, if you don't give enough resources, we're not going to make this happen, right? And this is what's going to fall.
Yeah,
I love it. Anybody else? Go
Rick,
ahead.
I have a question. Wouldn't it also be on the product owner and the way that they're communicating with their client to establish expectations and how they are managing the real efforts of delivery?
I love it. I love it. Yes, the product owner, product manager, they're responsible to try to help that out. But really, think about it. In Agile, we kind of figured that out a little bit. Think about what we did here. We gave the power of what they commit to the team.
Right.
Right? So we kind of relinquished that. That's not necessarily true in some companies. So don't quote me on this, but that's what Agile tries to do. Agile tries to say the team should be empowered to say how much load can they handle and execute on that. But with all this stressful situation where we need to deliver tomorrow and there's no, and our job is depending on it, I don't know how much of that is really being honored at this point. But thank you for adding there. Anyone else that does a great job of, and you've been so much successful in your career to show them the need that you have? What are your tricks?
Does anybody get management to commit to Agile values on paper or in public?
To commit to Agile values on paper. So if you're saying to me, as a coach, as an executive coach, one of my tools that I use is I need C-levels to feel like they're committed to the transformation. So one of the, and I don't know if we're talking about the same things. One of the things that I do is I actually run a session with them, and then I actually make them sign off, where we do like something like this is our commitment of how we're going to support the Agile teams, and then I have their signatures on anything, and then I have that posted all over the place to show the commitment and to make sure that that's how I hold them accountable. Is that what you're talking about, or you're diving into a little different?
No, exactly. So if somebody expects me to have resources, I just point to that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Great job. Great job. And guys, if you think about these Agile teams, and we said social agreements, contracts, we always have contracts with each other because we want to make sure that we're clear on it. It's not contract to go contract over people, right? But it's more like so that we have a better understanding of how we're going to work together. So if you think about it, a team has a contract with their product owner, and the product owner probably has a contract with their stakeholders, and the stakeholders have a contract with the organization. But it's just to establish a norm, an understanding of each other's role, right? Okay. Anything else related to, I still wish somebody would solve my problem. And I know we mentioned that show the need, right? Show how it's going to affect you. But I get it all the time, and it's just overwhelming how many people tell me they're asking for things and we don't have enough resources. They're asking and I can't. All I could do is try to continue. See, that's a stress mechanism. That stresses you out. Think about it. You telling your boss no is a very stressful situation. And I love using any other method that you guys use to deal with that.
I think another approach to the same problem, Rick, particularly if you're a project manager, since our job is to find solutions, is to return with an answer that says, this is what we can accomplish based on the resources we have. These are additional resources we need to do more, as opposed to just saying, oh, I can't do it.
Okay, right. Let me ask a survey real quick from the audience here. And it's not you, it's someone else in your company, not you. Okay, so don't think it's you. How easy is it for people to tell that same story to their manager or to their boss? And if you think it's easy and you actually do it, how many people actually do that? Or they just try to execute it? So you're going to raise your hand if you actually tell your boss, hey, we can't do this and this is all we can do. I'm just curious, raise your hand if you actually have that ability to do that. Because what I'm trying to tell you is that sometimes it's easier said than done. Everyone talks about it. Everybody says, yes, I have that open dialogue with my boss. But then the pressure comes down and you're like, we'll make it happen. We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. And you use that stance because that's something that you've been used to doing all your life. Right? Yes, Victoria.
My C-level actually encourages us to come with alternate solutions. As long as we can show that we're meeting that minimum viable product, he's okay with hearing, right, so maybe you get this much done this sprint, maybe the next sprint. And we've been on demo calls and says, nope, that's not going to happen the next sprint. We're already locked in. We're going to have to do it the sprint after. And he understands that and has to go higher up to set that expectation. But sometimes there's the, no, you're going to have to drop some things because this needs to happen right now. But the conversation is welcome as long as it's, of course, respectful and brought with, like Ray said, with a solution, not just a can't do it.
Love
You
it.
have to come with an alternate solution. I've experienced that.
Love it. Love it.
I
Okay.
also think it's
So
important to express and report the issue, as soon as it's identified. Sometimes as project managers, as, problem solvers, we see something coming. We're like, okay, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. And then at the last minute, you realize there's no way this is going to happen. It is being comfortable enough and, having a management C-level team that is open and receptive enough to hear you say, listen, this is going to be a problem. It's not today, but if we continue on such and such a trend, there's no way. And being able to express that early, and you have to reinforce that. And yes, you can come with solutions. Sometimes I don't have the authority. I don't have the authority over other resources. I can't just say, hey, I need this person from such and such a team to complete this job, but communicating the need early, the earlier, the better is, what I've always found helps. And, a lot of times too, the reality is they're going to say, I hear you, but there's nothing we can do. And then you still struggle to make it happen, but at least you make it known and you try. Yes, you can talk about, different solutions, but at the end of the day, I think the earlier, the better.
I love that. I love that. Now, Jasmine, the only thing that I find also very difficult is that we as problem solvers always like to go to a problem and say, and these are the different options you have, right? And sometimes we wait too long. What you just said was so important. Instead of telling them, systems down, we're working on it, I don't have an answer for you. That is so uncomfortable because it's not something that shows confidence. It just shows like you don't know. And you're scared to give them that feedback because you're waiting for some possible solutions or thinking that somehow you're going to figure it out and it's not going to be as impactful as you think because you're being, and it's tough, but that's a really good observation. Go ahead, Victoria.
Jasmine's point, and I totally agree with her. You said that you're going to put your head down and make it happen and not say anything early. They keep expecting that to happen. Excuse me. So the minute you break, you've done it before. What makes this time different?
I love it. Yes. Okay, guys, with time permitting, that we only have like 10 minutes. I want to make sure we tackle this last 10 minutes very punctual. So one of the things that I do want to make sure, and I don't know, Ray, if you could put that, we do have our website. We're T Culture, and there is trainings that if you guys right now, we're actually running a training right now. She's a whole bunch of certification classes, so if you guys are interested in doing that, make sure you go to our site. I think they put a 20% discount and all that. You guys can at least participate on these weekend trainings. So if you're interested, please make sure that the only selling you're going to get, but join us there if you want to learn more. We're going to have these weekend sessions, and they're going to build on top of each other to try to help each other out, and they'll collaborate and talk and share our knowledge. There are different skill sets here. So next time I break it into 2 teams, where maybe we talk to the beginners one way and then talk to the advanced in a different light so that we can have your questions. So that's what we want to do. So I'm going to open up the floor right now for the next few minutes to really talk about anything that you feel you need to grasp because it's a pain point in your work, and you really want to try to maybe ask the group for some advice. So I'm just a second to see if anybody has a concern that they want to share. And this is related to Agile, related to high performing, related to tools. You have a lot of flexibility here. You got a lot of smart people in this.
Well, thank you for asking that and giving them that opportunity. My name is Renaldo Nunez. I got 2 questions. I feel that my team is very open with me. I bring those ideas up to the big group, and when we are in the large settings, they don't feel comfortable speaking now. So I think this tool that you gave us, I'm going to try to introduce that to see if it grabs the attention from the management. My question is, what happens when constantly we send ideas to the management? They have been seen like, okay, they are good listeners. Okay, thank you for the idea, but they had never implemented. So in that sense, the team kind of stop progressive sharing ideas or yes, trying to improve.
Love it. I love it. I love it. So you have ideas, you're sharing them. They're not really also one world waste of time trying to do this, and you've already So I think the question I have for you is: have you been vulnerable enough to say why? Have you been able to talk to them? And there's sometimes people like to say, "They're not doing that. They're not doing that." When I start thinking, what am I? How can I communicate better to you? What am I doing something that I'm not sharing a real pain point? What can I do better to present to you guys? That changes the conversation. Not pointing fingers, trying to figure it out, and you don't put them in a bind, right? So I would ask the why. Do you have the why? Have you had the chance to ask them that?
Not really. Yes, I'm still
tough.
here.
And maybe it's uncomfortable. Maybe it's something like, Rick, these are C-levels. I'm not going to ask them why. They pretty much can fire me. So you need to figure out your own, what are you trying to strategically do in that relationship? And I start doing a lot of relationship building and say, it's a small battle, but I'm trying to win the war, right? So I don't get discouraged by one. I try to look around it and try to figure things out. I hope that helps a little bit. Anybody else has any advice, or do you?
Sometimes it's a little easier when you build relationships with some of the executives that you commonly have to communicate and work with.
I think another idea that's helped me, this is Marilenis, is actually making those retrospectives, making them big and visible. We actually maintain our retro and things we as you guys do over them, being resolved, and maintain them and continue to talk about them. It's so we have to make sure they're not moving. I currently have 5 items in my retro project that have been there since spring 20 and on spring 35. So make them very big and visible. And I report on my measuring very big and visible. These are some pain points of the project team to really pass it on. That's one thing that not always successful. I'm really speaking, but I have I just try to gain that confidence for my team. I mean, it's easier for me when I'm realizing I'm there to represent them. And if they don't have me to do that, then who's going to do it for them? Just really professionally find a way to make that big and visible and really help them feel it. That's what helped me. And again, as I said, I saw 5 items sitting there. They're pretty heavy. I like what Rick said. One item, which is around our cadence, been trying to be the team asking since sprint 1 for us to remove certain things out of our. And I was challenged, recently by trying to make a move them after reinforcement of it, and then I actually go back with CC. It seems actually a problem in the process. And to do what Rick just said, I have to take ownership and say, what is it that I am not confronting in the team? What is it that I'm not holding accountable for? What is the bottleneck that I'm afraid because I want to lose team synergy? What is it that I'm afraid of? Have kind of that, and refuse the change in the cadence, the energy management conversation. So it goes both ways. But I don't know if that helps you confuse you. That helps me.
Great, awesome. So time check, just so that you know. I'm okay. It's 9:54. We're gonna get 3 minutes left. I'm okay staying a little. Sorry?
You have 3 minutes left.
Okay, I'll get scared of the time. I'm sorry. Okay, does any other questions that we have that we want to address as a team? Thank you, Rick. Even for beginners, I want to hear some of the beginning questions that you have right now. You think and I can get in one small session. This is a discussion you're hearing out that you're trying to get. I would highly recommend that there's videos that we can send for you in the Scrum Alliance. You can listen to some of the videos to understand the foundation of some of these agile principles and ceremonies and all that. I want to get you to that point. And then of course it's about doing stuff. So you want to get you some about deeper conversations. But this is all. And what was just mentioned right now is effects is that no matter what job. So anyone else, beginner or not?
I have a question. I have limited experience. I worked from for my previous job. However, with my current job, there's a conversation on implementing Agile, but they have a tendency of creating their own style. And the only suggestion I gave is like, if we're going to implement Agile, we need to do it the correct way. We need to use that better approach. What's the best approach for me to introduce Agile to my team?
So I love that question. And I wish I had a cookie cutter answer on how I've been able to do it different. I tell you that each company has their own way of trying to get that through. I know what you're saying, because if you think about, and I hate to use the word best practices because we change and we learn every time, but if you think about what the industry said, Agile. If we don't try the best practices first, we don't actually absorb that understanding of the why. And it takes time. So Agile is something you just it takes time to absorb it, to learn it, to grow and figure it out and understand the reasons behind that. Some people just thinking of a stand-up team might already have a single stand-up team and have no idea what it is behind the scenes. They just think it's a status report. Oh, cool. You guys just have reports. They have no idea what the underlying stuff really takes place. So I like the idea. We like to call it Shuhar Reed. If you look that up, it's basically the ability of saying, look, follow the rules first. Follow the rules. Learn the whys. Understand it. Then you can go ahead and kind of adjust the rules, and then you can go ahead and break the rules. But you have to follow that cadence. People like to start with a small little pilot so that they can prove out their numbers, prove out the work. again, each transformation is different in how we worked out with these teams. But a lot of C-levels want to see the numbers. They want to see the proof is in the pudding. And then it's just like a tidal wave. There's a certain point where it just, once it starts building up, it moves into, okay, now we're moving forward at a very fast. Yes, go ahead.
Have you thought of doing any kind of assessment? I find that when I go to a client, we do an assessment. It makes it quite personal. And everybody has positive and negatives, up and down hours. No matter what their power, training, or background. So then we can talk about, oh, well, I'm good at this, and you're good at that, and oh, let's build on Fred. He's good at this, and Sally's good at that. Anyway, do you think that might work, Nikki?
I know what you said. So think about it. If you don't have pain, this is why we do want to change. So showing that these are some of the pain points you're dealing with. And yeah, I just like it from a coaching perspective. I look at all the pain they have, and I just say, how can Agile help some of these pain points? And if you point them to that, that makes it real to them, rather than just some silly structure you got off the internet and you bring into what? Change our way work? Like crazy. Awesome.
Thank you.
Carmen, I think, had a question, and then Victoria. Unless you raise your hand nicely.
Oh, yeah, I was answering it. Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, Carmen. No, okay. I do have a question for your reaction. This project management institute is revising the PMBOK for version 7 for you or PMP.
Do we have any PMPs out there? Just curious on people out there. Okay, awesome. All right, good.
And it says, then somebody went to give you accolades. I'm not gonna give you a big head. We went to look and found a link to Disciplined Agile. So I believe, and Andrew will be here, is a question, what is Disciplined Agile? Andrew, what is really the question?
No, it's made out there so that folks can see what it's about and go check it out.
A lot of favorites makes you. A lot of people have to figure out, well, this is Agile at team level. But how does this actually work across multiple days, right? So this is one of the PIs. SAFe is one that's been very popular in the market right now, where it tries to figure that out. I would highly think of it as a toolkit, learn from it, so that you can see how you can use some of these things to work the magic, right? To work the magic. There's a lot of frameworks, a lot of different things that you really want to do with. There's Agile, there's SAFe, there's other frameworks out there related to how to work this magic. Awesome.
Christine, Christy, did you have a question?
Ray, you seem a little intimidating, Ray, when you make that sound, okay? I won't say anything. I don't have a question, Ray.
Which he, by the way, doesn't.
No, sorry, I just forgot for it. I apologize. The question that I'm really to ask me questions related to Agile so that we can at least talk through it and feel a little, again, go ahead, Victoria. You're on mute, Victoria. But you sound great, and you're on mute. You sound awesome. Like I heard every single word you just said.
I've unplugged my headphones. Am I clear?
You are clear now. Go ahead.
With all these different toolkits and all these different SAFe models from my investment Agile, is it unfocused people think, or in my opinion, I think it'd be best to be able to understand all these different frameworks because you never know what you need to bring to the table with your
It's overwhelming in a lot of stuff. I would at least understand the foundation. You can't understand the other things if you don't get the foundation. And I know we started talking a little bit about mindset here, but the mindset is supposed to be used to foster all the other things. Here's a perfect example, and I state this in some of my leadership class. So I state, if you set up a company with a continuous improvement mindset, let's think about this. A safe environment with a continuous improvement mindset, what kind of company will you have? I'm just curious, what kind of company would you have if everyone felt safe to speak up and everyone felt that we are a learning environment, that we care about learning and figuring things out?
High performing, I believe.
It would be high performing, and you would lead into these things. It should evolve just by having that mindset. It should evolve. Hey, is it silly for us to do initiatives and wait a year to deliver it? Yeah. Someone should have said easily that felt safe. Is that silly? What are we doing? Why don't we deliver smaller chunks and see if we're doing well? That's just a simple question to ask. Mm-hmm. And somebody should say, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Let's do this. And then you do it. Agile didn't have to come around to do that. Everyone could have done it together if they had that mindset.
Right.
So think about it. Hey, we don't collaborate enough. Does it make sense for us to just have like a 5-minute meeting in the morning to make sure we're in sync and we're all aligned and we took, yeah, sure. What do we want to call it? Want to call it a stand-up meeting? Sure, let's call it a stand-up meeting. Oh, wow. So again, these things come out of you guys. You guys can actually figure out a lot of these things. And I tell you, you guys can do even better than Agile. You guys can do even better than Scrum. With you guys figuring out what that looks like, you're going to have a product that's 10 times better than whatever was thought of, right? It'll evolve, right? So just keep that in mind. So back to my opinion related to all these tools. I'm going to be biased. Sorry, I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to be biased. SAFe right now, from a project management perspective, is giving you a lot of tools that you don't have to make up. They're all there for you. And you want to know how to prioritize things, you go in there. You want to know how to do a portfolio, you go in there. You want to know how to run a SWOT analysis, you go there. You want to know how to do surveys to your teams, to your program, your portfolio, and all that stuff, you go in there. My God, they're cheating for you. So they're giving you all these tools, and all you have to do is grab it, and you look like a hero. Because you have it. So no one else is making it that easy. No one else is making it that easy for you. They're giving you a whole. Now, be careful what you get as a gift, right? Because you need to make sure that fits your organization. Right. You have to have a strategy of what will work and what will not work, and maybe flavor it. And I know people don't like the flavor part of it, but flavor it to be able to enter and give you value. Simple test. Here's the stuff. Let's do it. Did it give us value? Yes, let's keep it. It didn't give us value. Let's kick it out. That's how simple you can figure out. And then it doesn't look like you're trying to force things on people. You're trying to work through that and get through. But I do think it takes a special character, I would use that term, to be able to be emotionally intelligent, to be able to work with people, because people have a lot of baggage. When I work with C-levels, they're always bringing a whole bunch of baggage into the conversation. So if I don't realize that they're just not ready for that, like I'll tell you my biggest scary part that I did one time. Okay, don't tell anybody. Okay, it's very important. So I went into one of the county things, and they wanted me to talk about Agile. And I went in there and I spoke about Agile. And I was all excited about talking about Agile. And I told them, you're going to get full empowered teams that are going to be able to perform, and they're going to be having, the freedom to say how they're going to do things, and no one's going to be able to touch them, blah, 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 blah. I scared the hell out of those people. They didn't want me to come back. They're like, that's not our structure. We can't handle that. We're not ready for anything like that. I don't think they invited me back. So it's just like, what can they absorb at the time that they're at, right? At their maturity level, right? You got to give them a small win to get to the next level. That's my I still like scaring the hell out of people. So just in case you invite me to go, I usually do that. All right, awesome, Victoria, thank you. Anyone else that has a question that we want to address? This is your forum right now.
Hey,
This is
Jean. Sorry, Jean. Go ahead, Jean.
This is Jen. Yeah.
Jen. Sorry. My eyes are bad.
No worries. I guess my question is around the idea of focusing on what can I do, what can I control, I can't control other people. I love that. I think that's spot on, right? So what can I do in terms of developing my soft skills around leading up? Because I think a lot of the challenges that I'm facing have to do with this idea that, yeah, we're agile, we're moving toward agile from waterfall, and it's just like transformation, but it often seems more like it's about frame and not so much the mindset. And that's a problem, especially even when we don't want to adopt the full mindset. Like there's like things like perspectives. And so there's like just huge opportunity to lead up. And I think that for me, when I'm focusing on, okay, what can I do? What can I control? It comes back to developing my soft skills more, like as a product manager, to lead up around these mindsets. And I feel like I'm challenged with that. So I just would love to hear, what have other people done to expand their skill set, that soft skill set, around leading up with these concepts?
I'm going to open it up to the floor first to see if anyone wants to help with that.
To be honest, I actually went to Rick for some coaching, to help out with some soft skills. My current role is Scrum Master, and between the Scrum Master team, there's a lot of friction. And sometimes we do get, we're hotheads at times, and how to manage that confrontation is something that I had to look for coaching to be able to manage that situation. Now, how to build on other soft skills from somebody who is very intense at times, I've had to go to different coaches and try to get some exercises. I've done some reading on some books to be able to grow them. Now, granted, it is very difficult, and I will not lie about this. I am very blunt at times, and sometimes I do not sugarcoat things. I will be very I guess, yeah, let's just go with blunt. And it is something that you have to keep practicing day by day. My teams concerning communication, they are very open. There's nobody on my team who is afraid of communicating. So they have been strong teams like that, very communicative teams like that, have also helped me to improve my soft skills. Now, Rick and the South Florida team gave the other days a very good, I think it was like 2-hour about coaching and the skills that you need, and the not only the skills but the knowledge that you have to be a coach. And if you don't have that mindset of wanting to help people and wanting to progress within where you're at, it is very hard for you to be successful as a Scrum Master, as a product owner, or even as a product manager. It takes time. I recommend you really looking into the current role. Is that what really drives you, or what is it that gives you so much happiness to do what you do? And then that will also help in a way to, I guess, skills, or just think of a different way of how to express it. Because it's not, there's no better. It's just, in front of you, I've working a lot on it. And reading different books, I'm actually aware that I'm reading The Human Side of Agile. And it's helpful to think more of a, not only a certain leader type, but more of a need to connect on the level.
Love it.
So George, what did you do to resolve your situation?
To be honest, it hasn't, the situation has, I guess, controlled itself due to COVID-19. And it's good and sad to say it at the same time, but given that we are in a controlled environment and we're not face-to-face with people, I guess communication has been more on things with attitudes or just probably nonverbal communication that you definitely know.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Real quick, in the coaching session that Jorge made reference to, what were the 1, 2 taking in that session that you thought were important? I
broke up, right? Just so you know.
Oh, okay.
The person
I was saying, no, I asked. In the coaching session, he said he attended 2-hour coaching session. Do you remember the 1, 2 points that you made in the 2-hour coaching session? Not in the personal conversation. Okay.
This was the meeting that we had with coaches. I think, that was actually really good, by the way.
Yeah, so we'll do that information. I want to make sure you give everyone else a shot because the time-wise, everyone kind of needs to get.
So questions to chat.
Hold on. Let me answer the concern here. So the concern is having a manager that you cannot change, or you feel challenged to, and you try to hone your skills to try to do a better, which is great. You're looking within. I love that idea. And I know we've mentioned already about information radiators. And I always like the power of 2. So remember, you're not on your own, right? So you give others to kind of strategize. The team feels this way, and you're representing a group. I also look for the relationship with the managers and whatnot, and understand what bothers them. If you could tap into what's bothering them, right? There is a reason why it's just doing it. There's a reason behind it. What's that reason? You need to really dive into that. I use empathy. I become that person. I will paint that person. Like I do a simple retro. I know everybody's used to do retros downward. I do that retro that's upward. It goes, team, that's not. What do you think your manager's pain point is? Not what their pain point to you is. What do you think their feeling is? Manager, what do you think the team's pain point is? And now you have empathy going on. Now you have actually getting closer together rather than being separate. Because if it's all about you and you and you, you're never going to get the solution. And then a retro, a real strong retro, comes up with, yes, these are the 3 things that you said yes, but you missed 2. And the manager says, yes, thank you for understanding my pain point, but you missed these 2. And then from there, I have to play together to solve the problem. So are we really combined aspiration? If you don't have C-level work, if no one's working at that level, you got some challenges. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You got some challenges. There's a lot of work that needs to get done. And like I always tell everyone, a small pebble dropping from that distance is massive when it comes to the bottom. Just a small doubt. Just a small, like, what are they doing? And then now you're feeling the consequences of that. So there has to be someone up there that's constantly giving them challenges, holding them accountable. We use it, and you guys mentioned it earlier, by values. What is the value of the organization? I can quickly tell you that I'm going to be able to help this company or not. What are your values? Oh, okay, I can't help you. Oh, your values are trust, respect, accountability. Oh, interesting, okay. I mean, that doesn't mean you live up to it, but those are your values. So that at least starts the conversation, okay? So I hope that helped a little bit. But again, you could talk to me on a one-on-one, and we can have a further. So this is a relationship we're doing here, guys. This is our Saturday, and we're all spending it together. and just understand this is like a team. We're all trying to help each other out. So I don't mind talking to you individually, like I did with some of the people here, to try to help you in your journey. Okay. All right. Anyone else that has a question?
I don't necessarily have a question. You know, I think there's been some really good feedback for Jen. I think one of the things when we're talking about building a team, strengthening a team, mentoring, you know, George, you know, touched on it, and he said, you have to want to mentor. You know, there are people who are in positions of leadership that are just there for whatever reason. They're not really interested in the people aspect and the growth aspect of those people. I think the first thing that's going to get you to be able to reach your team and lead your team is a desire for that. You want the best from your team and for your team. I think with my teams, what I do a lot is I empower. I have to also look at each person and understand, you know, what is your experience level? You know, understand that maybe you have to communicate differently. You know, there's a lot of terminology and we're coming in, we've got these new ideas and these new tools, exciting, we understand it. Our teams may not. And that can present a roadblock if we're just speaking in very technical terms, we don't really understand. Because if it's very technical, then they're going to have that resistance, like, oh, this is too hard. And the other thing I do, you know, you mentioned empathy, you know, put yourself in a position, very transparent, you know, I will raise my hand with my team, whether they're very transparent, and it doesn't matter about there. I'm showing that, listen, you know, we're working towards that thing, you know, what's best. Some things aren't going to go the way we planned it necessarily. It could have been better. You know, if I'm accountable and I show my own accountability, that's going to, you know, trigger that behavior from my team. And then of course that also speaks into the rest. You know, there are other words, but you know, you have to work towards building those things. The way you build it is through transparency, through openness, through all those things, but just in a conduit and listening, you know, really hear what your team is saying so that you can communicate back to them.
Great job. Any other topic?
You're out for chat questions. Can I? All right, Jonathan.
Yes,
implemented or receive take advantage of technological tools in a business environment for people who have time adapting to new software. Just what's happening in Agile methodology within that environment.
But I was curious why he was mentioning software and all that. So I'm assuming that that's a challenge from a technical perspective, that they're keen to development, like only developers do this. Can you say more? Or what did it stated that?
Are you okay? Just saying Spanish if you want. I don't really care. Okay. All right. His second question was that he's looking to get certified, and I was asking what certification courses do you recommend?
I guess none, but again, CSM, if you're starting up, it's a very foundational class. CSO, and you get to see stuff that help you when you talk about program, portfolio, and all the way up. There's a lot of different some of the things that they see in the class. I'm not going to into training.
The next question is from at least method. 1 week sprints. Christy asked about 1 week sprints. John didn't see anybody that I think are supporting 1 week sprints.
Yes, I do.
So how do you run 1 week sprints?
I'm running 1 week sprints on Tuesday to the work. So I'll tell something Friday and then Friday would be on this. But it's very small, precise things that could be developed and tested in a day or two at most.
Okay, and how big are your teams for that one, or the team that's operating on the 1 week sprint?
For that team, I have right now 4 members, 2 developers, 2 QAs, and then the product owner and myself.
Okay, and do you do all the ceremonies?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So I have teams that understand that what is Amazon doing? Amazon pushes like on a regular basis, right? So you have to have a structure in place to be able to do this. Like, how long does it take you to get code and push it to production? If that happens very taxing, have a cool process. That's something. If you automate all those things and you have automated scripts kicking off, you need your regression environment, and then you'll see on the next board it says green, everything's fast. Ideally, you should be able to check that in production, right? So I have teams on a very expensive platform, right? So, but you have to have all these things in place, and it has to make sense. Now, as for the ceremonies, just understand that it should be shorter, right? If you only have experience shorter, it should be a lot, focused on the work for the week. And it's all about the intensity. Now, this is where people get confused. People get confused and think that you can only deliver at the end of the sprint. No, nowhere does it say you only deliver at the end of the sprint. You can deliver any time during the sprint to a person as long as it passes all. Go ahead.
Just a question. I know she's having some problem with those. Kristen, can you tell us what your experience in this 1 week sprint problems are?
Right. So like the business is really adamant about having 1 week sprints just because to be able to push out more things, but it's not really successful. Like the definition of done is really actually that it doesn't get, it passes development or dev unit testing is done. It's not, haven't really passed QA. And so they're just trying to like have the concept of 1 week sprints, but it's not really working. And it has been working for a few months. And so I think they'll be open to 2 week sprints again. But I was just trying to open up the question, and especially with the grooming and planning being so close together, they see too much overlap, but they don't want to compromise on the 2 week sprints yet.
So it's interesting that you mentioned, that was great observation there to make sure you're tackling the pain point. I love what you just did, Ronaldo. So thinking about the business, saying that they want it every week, that's an interesting statement, right?
Mhm.
Because you want it every week. Is there features that I can deliver every week that gives you a lot of value? That would be an interesting conversation. Because imagine, if I give you enough value this week that is so massively awesome that you need it, that's pretty cool, right? And how do you get to produce that value at that short time period? Now, I heard you say certain things that were a little red flag for me, how QA is at the end. If you're doing Agile, we actually ask you to do every story and make sure that it's done as fast as possible. It's an insult to me if you only give me good news. That means you really don't care about me. If you give me the real strong, hey, you could on this, Rick, you're too loud, or Rick, if that background was horrible. If you tell me the real, then I know you like me. The only way I know that you really care about me getting better is to hear those difficult things. I want you to approach your teams the same way. So please, in the chat line, mention ways that we can get better. This is a one-time deal. We came together, we had some conversation, but I also need to tell you what went well, because then I'll get all depressed, So there's got to be a little blend there. Okay. Now, as you're doing that, again, I thank you guys for coming over. We're going to have this every week. You can invite your friends or invite whoever you think needs to try to understand or has questions. And we're always going to have this question and answer at the end.